Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SWAPA Benefits Open Enrollment informational session. We are going to be covering a bunch of topics today about open enrollment, but before we start, I did want to go ahead and say we know there are a lot of questions about vaccines, but this very specifically is about open enrollment. So if you have any questions at the end, we'll certainly ask them, but if they are vaccine related, we are going to have to refer you to the FAQs on SWA Life since we don't really have answers to some of them, but we will try to get through whatever questions we possibly can. Let's go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to our medical benefits members, Brent Wiesner and Tony Caparella.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here with Tony, and we're going to discuss the 2022 changes to short-term and long-term disability, the SWA loss of license plan. We'll show how these plans work together with the disability calculator. We'll also discuss the new voluntary loss of license, and then we'll take questions at the end. We want to remind everyone that the SWAPA open enrollment for short-term and long-term disability started yesterday, and it ends on the 15th. The enrollment forms were all mailed to you, so they'll be in your mailboxes at home. They were emailed to you last week. We'll email them to you again this week. And if that doesn't work, they're on the SWAPA website as well. The SWA medical open enrollment starts October 21st and goes through the 3rd of November. And that's when you can change your loss of license plans from taxable to non-taxable or vice versa. So Tony, why don't we start with short-term disability and tell us what the difference between short-term disability plan A is and B.
So short-term disability plan A and B has an elimination period of 30 days before anything starts. For A, it's 30-day elimination period, and then you start at the newly revised $1,500 a week versus the $1,363 currently a week for starting 1 January of 2022. Plan B is 30-day elimination period plus the exhaustion of your sick bank. And then at which time Plan B benefits would start. If you want to see what plan you have, you're going to look on the right-hand side of your paycheck, preferably the 20th for pilot STD, because that's when STD is taken out. You'll see over in this example, it's 9701, which is our current Plan A rate. For next year, Plan A rate will be 106 to 21 cents and $67.74 for Plan B. Contractually, when you're out on short-term disability, you must burn 47.5 minimum to 105 trips maximum. That's on Plan A, not to exceed your pre-disability earnings.
Tony, do we still have the California options going into 2022?
We have eliminated the California options for 2022 and on. So no, they are no longer offered to the California-based pilots.
So if you're a California pilot that had short-term disability Plan A, the California option, you'll be auto-enrolled into the normal Plan A. And if you have the California short-term disability Plan B, you'll be auto-enrolled into the normal short-term disability Plan B if you do nothing during open enrollment. If you want to make changes to that, obviously you need to go into the open enrollment form and make those changes. Next slide, please. So Tony, how do we know if loss of license is going to pay us the majority of the money at 6 months or long-term disability?
Well, let's say if you have less than 600 sick trips in your sick bank, loss of license will start as planned month 7 after the 22-week elimination period of your short-term disability. It's 60% of your pre-disability earnings, and nothing's changed with this, $11,500 maximum. One thing to note that pilots have miscommunicated is that the maximum imputed amount of $5,060 per year, that's the maximum, is not what the pilot is paying for loss of license tax-free. That is, you're paying the taxes on that $5,060. So if you look at the right-hand side of your paycheck, down at the bottom under imputed income, you'll see swag taxable imputed, and right below that, if you have the tax-free version of loss of license, you'll see non-taxable LOL. And that amount that you see in the column is what the amount is taxed, what you're going to pay in taxes on that amount. Now, if you have 1,000 sick trips in your sick bank, your last day of pay is 1,000 divided by 95. So in this case would be 10.5 months. In the meantime, from month 7 to 10.5 months, you'd be receiving the full benefit of long-term disability until you hit loss of license. For next year, that's $13,500. And then at the 10.5 month period, loss of license will kick in to a maximum of $11,500. And then next year, it would be $2,000 of LTD on top of that.
And Tony, how long does this loss of license carry a pilot?
Loss of license carries a pilot for a minimum of 5 years after probation to a maximum of half the time you've been with Southwest. So if you're a 15-year captain, that's 7.5 years of loss of license. Once loss of license stops, then your LTD, if you have it, will kick in until you're 65.
Next slide, please. So what are the big changes with long-term disability this year?
So the two big changes, actually one big change, is the max amount is now $13,500 from the current rate of $12,500 this year. After the 22-week elimination period from your short-term disability plan, A or B, you would start long-term disability. It's $1.46 per $100 to a max of $295.64 a month for long-term disability. Just to reiterate, short-term and long-term disability are always tax-free. Loss of license, you do have to elect to have the non-taxed version during Southwest open enrollment. You'll also notice on the right-hand side under pilot STD would be your pilot LTD and the amount taken out on the 5th and 20th paychecks. Usually I direct every pilot to the Swap of Benefits Aeromedical website just to run the disability calculator and make sure that they have their benefits calculated for their time and duration while they're out on disability. It's an easy way for you to see it.
Next slide, please.
Okay, we're back with you. So I just finished up talking about directing all the pilots to go to Swap of Benefits Aeromedical website, disability calculator.
Yeah, so there's two ways to get to the disability calculator under resources, and then you can see there's a 2021 and a 2022 disability calculator link, or under benefits aeromedical, there is also the links there as well. Next slide, please. So once you click on the 2022 disability calculator, this is what you're going to see. A lot of it auto-populates: seniority, pay rate, sick bank, monthly trip for pay auto defaults to 105, and you can adjust that to how many sick trips you want to use a month after the 30-day elimination period. Your monthly PDE auto-populates, your birth date, your hire date, all auto-populate. Make sure you get the right short-term disability plan, A or B. Make sure the long-term disability plan says yes if you have it or no if you don't. And then make sure the tax rate is accurate for you. Once you do that, hit calculate. And then a new page does not open. You just need to scroll down. Next slide, please. And this is what you'll see. So in the top left corner, you see the month and the year. So your date of disability, the calculator assumes, is the day you run the calculator. So we obviously brought the 2022 calculator up so you can look at the new short-term disability and long-term disability rates, but just realize that it's assuming your date of disabilities when you run the calculator. And now moving across the top, you got the month, a year, remaining sick bank, gross sick, net sick, your short-term disability, your loss of license, and then the totals. So you can see in month 1 where it says 10, 20, 21, 895. So that's 105 sick trips that I plan to use in the 30-day elimination period. It's going to gross me 25,000, and then after taxes, it's going to say 16,000. And then for the next 5 months, you'll see that I'm burning 105 sick trips, and I'm also receiving 6,600 from short-term disability. Now realize that short-term disability is paid on a weekly scale, so every week you're going to receive $1,500 tax-free. So if it's a 30-day month, you might be a little shy of 6,600. On a 31-day month, you might receive a little more than that. It's just an average there. So that carries you down to month 7, where you'll see that short-term disability stops and long-term disability starts. And long-term disability is going to be 67% of my pre-disability earning, and you'll see that's at 10,000. So my sick time plus the 10,000 all the way to the right is 26,765. but I had 1,000 sick trips in this example. So my loss of license kicks in at 10.5 months. So in the calculator, it starts at 11 months. So loss of license then shows me at 9,000. If I have the taxable version, it's 6,750 plus the long-term disability brings me to 10,000. So remember, my pre-disability earning in this example was 15,000. So 67% of 15,000 is $10,000. And remember, loss of license runs half your tenure. Long-term disability will carry you to 65. And then if you go out when you're 64 and a half, short-term disability will pay you a minimum of 22 weeks, and long-term disability will pay you 12 months if you continue to remain disabled. Next slide, please. So during open enrollment, from the 4th to the 15th, we also have the Peterson voluntary loss of license open enrollment. So this plan has changed drastically from the original plan that we had. So if you're looking to renew or you're looking to purchase it for the first time, please read over the frequently asked questions. The pre-existing condition clause is pretty in-depth. The term of it is only 1 year. And then the maximum benefit has changed as well. You can no longer use your profit sharing, your NEC, as your earned income. There is a COVID-19 exclusion in the plan details, and we encourage you to call Peterson and talk to them about vaccine and getting sick or injured from the vaccine and see if it's covered as well. And recently, we've been told that the voluntary loss of license offsets for the California disability that you receive as well. So if you got any questions on that, the new plan and the new details, please give them a call. But to enroll, next slide, please. It's fairly easy. Here's the link, and this link is posted on the SWAPA website as well. You basically enter a little personal information, select the benefit amount, and then it's a sliding scale pretty much on how much premium you want to pay or how much benefit you want to receive. So just the number that auto-populates there is not what you have to take. You can move the premium down and you can watch the benefit slide down as well, or go to the max. Next slide, please. Kirk Peterson is a good person to talk to. There's an email address for him and a phone number as well. Next slide, please. So we published a lot of 2-minute videos on STD, LTD, loss of license, knowing what you have, looking at your paycheck and understanding it, and all the plans combined with the disability calculator. They're all on the SWAPA website. They're nice and short. The benefit team did a nice job on them. Take a look at those if you have any questions as well.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead and post up some questions that we got on people had sent in. Let's go ahead and get those going real quick. All right. What is the most a captain can get for VOL from Peterson, and for how long? Is there a waiting period, and is it worth it for captains?
So the maximum amount that a captain or first officer could get from voluntary loss of license depends on how much money you make. So when you go and enroll, you actually put in your annual income, and then it'll populate on what the maximum benefit is that you can receive and what that premium will look like. And it varies depending on your age and how much money you make. I just say ensure that you understand that long-term disability now goes to $13,500. So if you have the non-taxable loss of license, you have long-term disability. After the 6 months, you're pretty much at $13,500 until you turn 65. So how much more money do you need a month to live off of would determine how much voluntary loss of license I would probably look into purchasing.
And how do I pay for LOL? It's not on my paycheck. That's the second question.
Yep, on your paycheck, you'll see pilot STD, pilot LTD, and then if you have the non-taxable loss of license, you'll see non-taxable LOL down in the bottom right-hand corner. VLOL is not a SWAPA product. It is a policy between you and Peterson International. So they will take either a monthly deduction out of your bank account or off of a credit card. And SWAPA has no information on who has the VLOL or who doesn't have the VLOL. Peterson has all that information.
With the new vaccine mandate, is there a chance to delay the open enrollment to have more time to better equip ourselves for the new questions?
So we're going to continue with the short-term and long-term disability open enrollment as planned. What we can tell you is that neither the short-term disability nor the long-term disability summary plan descriptions have any exemptions for anyone that has problems with COVID-19 or with complications with the vaccine.
Okay. If our sick leave bank has been depleted, like to only 30 days worth of pay, would it be wise to switch from STD Plan A to the lower cost STD Plan B? In other words, are there any differences between A and B to consider other than sick leave?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're less than 100 in your sick bank or starting out at 0, coming back off disability, going to Plan B is a cheaper option for you. You're going to be paying approximately $30 a month less for it because there's still a 30-day elimination period for both Plan A and Plan B. Once you get over that 150 sick trips in your bank, then you can decide if you want to switch back over to Plan A, so that way you have a little bit of flexibility on burning your sick trips on top of your short-term disability.
Okay. Sorry, next question is, if we're unable to receive any kind of exemption and forced to take the vaccine, will our STD or LTD and or LOL plan still provide benefits?
So there is no exemptions in our short-term and long-term disability plans for any COVID-related illnesses or injuries or vaccine illnesses or injuries. Currently, the loss of license plan does not have any exemptions, but as long as they don't change the plan on us, loss of license should cover you as well. But we'd like that in writing from SWA before we definitively say that.
Okay, for those of us on medical leave, will we be granted a medical exemption? Obviously, if we have a severe enough medical condition that we're unable to currently hold an FAA medical, if we do clearance from the FAA to retest and be granted our license, will the exemption stay in place to keep us from being forced back into medical leave against our will?
So there's an FAQ that came out from Southwest, and it says, does the requirement apply to all employees? Well, for employees on a leave of absence prior to October 4th who do not return to work before November 24th, being fully vaccinated is required. They must upload proof of being fully vaccinated prior to returning to work. If you're out on disability right now, the way I read it is you are exempt from necessarily getting the vaccine until you return to work. So that's completely based on when the person coming off disability comes back to work.
Okay, thank you, Tony. So is LTD tax-free?
LTD and STD are tax-free all the time, yes.
And our next question is, what are my benefits if I retire versus getting fired?
So the SWAPA benefit team has a retirement booklet on our website that has a lot of 401k information in it. And then the Southwest Airlines Employee Services also has a retirement booklet that discusses a lot of medical information and past privileges and all that. I would encourage any pilot that's looking to retire to go through those books. And if you want to know what benefits you have if you get fired, I'd probably direct that question to contract admin or your chief pilot.
Many pilots are concerned about the vaccine being upheld. If they're permanently injured and can't work as a side effect, will the Peterson or LTD be applicable?
So we've kind of covered the STD and LTD would cover you as long as the language stays the same. Loss of license, we'd like to see that definitively in writing to say that it will cover you. Peterson now has an exclusion in their certificate that says if you have complications from COVID-19 or anything the World Health Organization deems as a pandemic, that is an exemption. And then as far as adverse reactions to the vaccine, I would say call Peterson International to verify that you would be covered under that policy.
Okay, next question is, we disagree that CASD offsets the VLOL benefit. Is that spelled out specifically in the 2022 policy, and has it been spelled out before?
That has not been spelled out before, and that came to light because a California-based pilot went out on disability and lives in California and is receiving California disability, long-term disability, loss of license, and VLOL discussed that being an offset, and it was the first we heard of it. And we don't have a current policy of the VLOL, but I would say that is a question to ask Peterson directly on that.
Okay, how do you know what month LOL kicks in? Does it automatically kick in at a certain amount of sick leave?
Well, yes, we described earlier loss of license would begin with your total sick bank divided by 95. Therefore, if you have less than 600 sick trips, you're looking at loss of license beginning month 7. If you have a large sick bank, take that divided by 95, and that's about the time loss of license would kick in. So if it's 1,600 sick trips in your bank divided by 95, you're looking at month 17 loss of license beginning. And there, in that example, month 7 through month 17, long-term disability would fill that gap until loss of license begins.
Okay, that looks like about all the questions we have. And so with that, I think we will conclude our SWAPA Benefits Open Enrollment webinar.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.